Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to make chicken pot pie, mainly from a can, something quick and easy that you can cook, you know, when you get home from work. That's my oven preheating to 425. I have it preheating, which we're going to learn about here in a little bit. And here's all my ingredients. And we're going to start out with salt and pepper. And I like the chicken seasoning to go on my chicken pot pie. And cream of celery soup. And about half a can of chicken broth. And a can of veg oil. And a can of corn. And a can of cream of chicken. The veg oil and the corn, I'm going to drain it before I put them in it. And then we've got Mazola oil to cook our chicken in before we fix our pie, our ingredients. And I've got my chicken tenders that I got from Walmart in a pack, and about a quarter of an onion, sweet onion. I always use sweet onion. So let's get started. Oh, and I forgot my pie crust. I got this at Walmart too. It's 9-inch pie crust, one for the top, one for the bottom. So to start with, I'm going to turn my stove on about medium-high heat, and I'm going to put a little oil in here. I'm going to let it get hot, and this is where I'm going to fry my chicken. But I'm not going to cook it fried. It's like fried chicken. I'm just going to make it a little golden done, not fried, brown, crispy. You're just going to cook it to where it's done. So let's let that heat up for a minute. And I want to talk about this pie pan. And this is a 13-inch by 9-inch regular Pyrex, pan. But I'm going to use it for my chicken pot pie. And I'm going to put my pie crust in it. So let's let the oil heat up a few more seconds. Just make sure that it's, done, but not brown done. This is golden. So I'm going to take them and put them on a paper plate and let them cool off. And you shred them when they cool off and add them to our filling mixture here in just a little bit. That looks good. Okay, we're going to set that aside and let them be cooling off. And like I was saying earlier, I wanted to use my chicken oil to cook my onion. So this is I'm not going to put all of this in here. I'm going to put about half. This is about equal to about 2 onion slices chopped up. Okay. And I'm going to cook them. Just slice, pretty good, about 1/4 of a pretty good sized sweet onion. And then you're going to cook them until they're, like caramelized. Saute. And you can see the pan is already browning them because the pan's already hot, and I've got that chicken oil that helps season it. And it smells good already. I love sweet onion. Just let that get a little bit more brown. We're going to saute them. And they're getting there. Let me turn my oven up, my stove just a little bit. And when we get these onions, we're going to let them cook for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and add our soups and vegetables. Okay, we have our onion done. That took about 4 minutes to get them good and brown and caramelized so that it'll make the chicken pot pie have a little sweet onion taste. So next, we're going to add a little bit of chicken broth. I would say about half a can. Not quite half a can, but almost half a can. Then we're going to add a whole can of corn, drained. Make sure you drain it. And the big can of veg oil. Make sure you drain it. A can of cream of chicken soup. I just use the plain old cream of chicken. I don't use the low sodium, but you can. And the cream of celery soup. And it's not low sodium either, just the regular. Okay. And we're going to add a half a teaspoon of this chicken seasoning that I was telling you about. Really gives anything that you cook with chicken, no matter what it is, really gives it a good flavor. And then half a teaspoon of pepper. And then 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay, and you're going to stir it all up. And it sure smells good. And you can tell by the time I add the chicken to it, it's going to be good and thick, like chicken pot pie. You don't want a runny chicken pot pie. It's going to be good and thick and ready to go in our pie crust here in just a little bit. So I'm going to leave this sitting. And our chicken that I was letting cool, we're going to chop it up, put it in a bowl, and then we're going to add it to our chicken. And we'll be back in a minute. Okay, now that I've let the filling mixture cook while I was shredding the chicken, it's about 4 or 5 minutes on low, medium low. Let it boil and bring it to a little boil, and just slow cook it while you're chopping up your chicken. Add it all to your mixture. Okay. Stir it up. And at this point, you can go ahead and turn your stove off. Turn your eye off, because whatever's going to be cooked, the rest of it is going to be cooked in the oven. So, we have our pie filling done. And now, we're going to get ready to fix our pie crust. Okay, I had a small change of plans. I decided to use my iron skillet. Okay. You just put your pie crust around. Get it real thin so it comes up to the top around. Okay. Now you're going to put your filling in there. You get it all in there good. Alright. You're going to spread it around. Making sure all the pie filling stays on the inside. Sort of pull it away from the edges if you have to. Okay. Alright, now we're going to add our top. This should be fit across the top. Sort of move around like this to spread it out some. Usually I just take it like this, shake it a little bit, and it pulls out. Okay, we're gonna lay it across. Okay. And then next what you're gonna do is, you're gonna start on this side, and you're gonna start pulling it in the inside of the pie, so it closes off. And you're just gonna mix, you're gonna put it right up against the other pie shell like this. Make sure that it's just touching just the pie crust. I don't know if you can see it good on the camera. I'm just mashing pie crust to pie crust is what I'm doing. I'm making sure it only goes to the pie crust all the way around. Make sure you don't get any part of the filling. You see how I'm just coming around to the edges and making sure. And if I see any of it, I push it back down and come around like this, all the way around, like this. And I'm just going to work my way around and make sure I have it all on the inside. Mashing it crust to crust. Yeah. Okay. There's some that's not on there. That's why you push it away from the sides when you're doing it, when you're putting it on there. Now you can take a fork if you just want to pretty it up, and you can just make a little grooves around. When you cook it, it's going to even out a lot. I just sort of take my fork and mash it around like this. Give it a little extra crust on the sides. Like so. Alright, just make sure it's evenly around. Okay, that looks good. Then you're going to take a knife and you're going to split it into 4 little pieces. Make you some openings like this to let it get air. Sort of pull them apart just like you would a regular pie. Just like that. Okay. And now it's ready to put in the oven, and we're going to cook it for about 20 minutes on 425. And we'll come back at the end of 20 minutes. Okay, we've had 20 minutes. Let's check our pie. And it's still a little bit, it's getting brown. It smells wonderful. All right, so let's reduce our heat down to 350, and we're going to continue cooking it until the crust is golden brown all the way around, and we'll be right back. Okay, it took about, I would say, 15 more minutes at 350, so we're going to go ahead and take it out of the oven. Oh, it's beautiful. It's a golden brown. And there we have our chicken pot pie. And let it sit for about 10 minutes, and we'll come back and cut it open, see what it looks like. Okay, we let the pie sit for about 10 minutes, and as you can see, it's still hot and steaming, but I cut a piece of it out just to see what it would look like to show you. And it looks delicious, and it is delicious, and it's quick and easy, something fast, and probably didn't cost but about $18 altogether, if that, to make it. So I hope you all enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and this is my recipe for Southern style chicken pot pie. Thank you for watching. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to make cornbread, chicken, and dressing. And this is an old recipe, the way my mom and my grandmother made it. And I'm sure my mother's grandma made it. And this is their recipe. And so I started out, I made my cornbread yesterday. And I used Martha White buttermilk cornmeal mix. It makes the best dressing to me. So I've got my cornbread ready. And then I baked my chicken breast, which was 2 chicken breasts. This is a small. If you want to make for more people, just double it. This is for like 5 or 6 people. If you want to make more, just double it, triple it, however much you want to do. But this is 2 chicken breasts that I baked earlier. And I baked it on 375 for 40 minutes, and I put salt and pepper on it, and lemon pepper, and onion powder, and garlic powder. And it made it real spicy and real seasoned. So now I'm fixing to mix all my ingredients together, but I'm gonna have chicken broth, a can of chicken broth, a can of cream of chicken soup, a can of cream of celery soup, some parsley and some sage, and 1 egg. So I'm gonna mix all this up and make my dressing, and I've already got my pan buttered. So let's start with our cornbread. Just gonna mash it up in there in my pan. Okay. Then I'm gonna add my egg. One egg. And then I'm gonna add my can of chicken broth. I'm only gonna put half the can in it just right now. And if it's still not real wet when I put it in, I'm gonna add water, but I'm just gonna do my chicken broth like that for now. And here's my can of cream of chicken soup, my can of cream of celery soup, and I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of sage. I don't use a whole lot of sage. But a little sage goes a long way. And I'm gonna put 2 1/4 teaspoons of parsley. And then I'm gonna stir all this up. It's already looking so good. The brown parts of your cornbread is what makes it so good. Chop all that cornbread up real good. Mix all this together. And now I'm gonna add my chicken that I've already chopped up, and also chopped up a half of a sweet onion. So I'm gonna just pick all this up and I'm just gonna dump it in. And I'm just gonna stir it all up together. little salt and pepper, just to taste. No certain amount, however much that you want to put in yours. Just sort of mix it around a little bit. Okay. This is ready to go in the oven, and I'm going to bake it for 30 minutes on 375. I've cooked it for 30 minutes on 375, and I just now got out of the oven. So let's get a piece of it and see what it looks like. Spoonful. It looks good. And it smells so good. And that's my recipe, and my mama's recipe, and my grandma's recipe for Southern style cornbread, chicken, and dressing. I hope you liked watching this video. Thank you for being here with me today on SugarBaby. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make Southern cornbread. And this is a recipe that my grandma made when I was a kid, and she had the best cornbread around, and all of us grandkids would get around the table when I was little. We learned how to make cornbread from her, watching her. So this is her recipe. Of course, it's pretty standard for the South, but I wanted to share it with you. So first we have milk, whole milk, vitamin D milk, and Martha White buttermilk cornmeal mix. And that's what I use, but you can use any kind of cornmeal mix, but I love the buttermilk. And mayonnaise, her secret recipe, and Crisco oil. And here's the 2 cups of cornmeal mix that I've already put in the bowl to get it ready, and 1 egg. So I'm gonna go ahead, mix this up, and I'm gonna put my egg. Gonna add my egg, and I'm gonna add 1/4 of Crisco oil. And also, while I'm doing this, also I have my iron skillet heating up in my oven on 450, and I've got about 1/4 cup of oil in it, a little less, and getting it hot. You always want your iron skillet to be good and hot when you put your cornmeal mix in there, because if you don't, you're going to end up with greasy cornbread, and it won't cook up good. So always get your skillet good and hot, which is what I'm doing right now. You'll see in a minute. Then I'm going to add a cup of milk, and then I'm going to add a tablespoon of mayonnaise. Makes me think of my grandma, my granny. Now I'm going to stir it up. Stir all the ingredients up in there real good. And I think I mentioned that this is 2 cups of cornmeal. I want to mention again in case I didn't. And if you see that your cornmeal is a little dry, you can add just a little bit more milk. But always start out with a cup. And give it a real good stir. And I can tell by looking at this that this is just right. I've made this so many times, I can tell. But if you see that yours doesn't look quite right, it's a little dry, add just a little more milk at a time. Don't put too much time. You don't want it real runny. But see the consistency? And what you're going to do, you're going to let it sit for about 2 or 3 minutes and give it a chance to mix all the ingredients together before you put it in your hot cornbread. And we'll be right back when we get ready. I've left this cornbread mixture sitting for 4 minutes, and as you can see, it's thickened up quite a bit. It's not as runny as it was a while ago. You always need to let your cornmeal sit for about 4 or 5 minutes after you mix it together. And I'm gonna stir it up just a little bit more, and now I'm fixing to add it to my hot skillet, which is very hot, which is the way it should be. You take it out. And I'm gonna pour my cornmeal. And what I used to do is I sort of shake it up a little bit and see the air holes coming up, the little air bubbles. I always shake it up a little bit and make sure it's good and even. It's cooking already on the sides. Get those air bubbles out of it now and make sure it's good and flat. And now I'm going to put it back into the oven, which, like I said, is heated to 450. Okay. And I'm going to let that cook for 15 minutes. And we'll be back to look at our cornbread. Okay. I'm going to turn my cornbread off, my stove off. And I put it on broil. After 15 minutes, I put it on broil just to get the top good and brown. And we're going to get our cornbread out. And it looks so good. And I'm going to put it on the plate. Look at that. That is some good cornbread right there. Like I said, I cooked it for 450 and then for 15 minutes. And then I turned off my baking and turned on my broil on high for about a minute just to get the top brown. And now we're going to cut into my granny's cornbread recipe. And there's her cornbread. Looks so delicious. You can split it. My grandma, she would split it in the middle, put a couple of pats of butter in there and eat it. And hand us some too. We couldn't wait. We couldn't wait for supper. We want some right then. So this is my video and my recipe for Southern cornbread. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you liked watching it as much as I love making it. Thank you. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I make fried sweet potatoes. And I've already chopped up my potatoes. And here's my sweet potatoes. And I've got a little bit of oil in my pan already, and I'm letting it get heated up. Always cook things with your skillet, your oil hot, because if you don't, it'll suck up the oil and make your food greasy. So I've already got my oil heated up, and I'm going to go ahead and add my potatoes to my oil. And then I'm going to add half a cup of light brown sugar. You just mix it around in there on the top. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And I'm going to put the lid on it when I get my oil spread out around it real good. And I'm going to let it cook off and on for about 20 minutes with my lid on it until they get brown. Brown sugar is already turning them brown. You can see. Looks good. And so in about 20 minutes we'll come back and see what they look like. It's been 20 minutes cooking it with the lid on, and our sweet potatoes are done. And as you can see, they turned out so good. Everyone loves sweet potatoes. If they tried these, people that don't like them will be surprised how good they are. So that's how I cook sweet potatoes. And I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. We'll see you next time on SugarBaby. Thank you for watching. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make southern fried potatoes. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have your russet potatoes, and I already have them chopped up in bite-sized pieces and washed, and I've got about 8 of them in there that fit in the palm of your hand. And I've got 2 slices of sweet onion. Got to have that sweet onion, and about the size you would put on a hamburger, and I chopped them up already. And then you've got salt and pepper, and of course you have to have your Crisco oil. Alright, I've already put my oil in my pan, and I've got it heated up, and I'm going to go ahead and set it on my eye, and I've got it heated up on medium. Between 5 and 6 is what I usually put it on for those that you have stoves like that. So I'm going to add my potatoes. You never want to put potatoes in lukewarm or cold oil. You always want to make sure your oil is good and hot, but not too hot because it'll, burn you. But make sure your oil is good and hot before you put your potatoes in there. If you don't, you'll have real greasy potatoes. And so next we're going to add half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. And of course, whatever you want to add, to your specifications that you like. And you can hear it's already cooking. It's already smelling good. And what I do is I start mixing it up and let that oil coat all over your potatoes. Get them good and coated with your oil, with your Crisco. And now I'm going to put my lid on it, and I'm going to cook them like that for about 5 minutes, taking my top off every once in a while and stirring them till they start to cook before I add my onions. And we'll be back when I'm ready to add our onions. We're back now. They've been cooking for 5 minutes, and I've stirred them twice. And so now they're about halfway done. They're smelling really good. Whoop. I love fried potatoes. And they're about halfway done. And now I'm going to add the onions. And the reason I do this is because onions cook down to about nothing really. And if you want to have that good onion flavor, if you put your onions in there when potatoes are about half cooked, it keeps the flavor in them longer. Don't cook them down to nothing. You've got half the cook time you do your potatoes. Alright, I'm going to stir them up real good in here. And you can see the potatoes are getting done. Mix all those good onions, those sweet onions in there with it. Mix them up in there really good. And now I'm going to cook them for another 5 minutes and just stir them maybe twice, and I'll be back when they're done. Our potatoes are done now, and about halfway through, about 5 minutes in of cooking them, I had to add about another 1/4 cup of oil around the edges, a little bit over here and a little bit over here, and then I just sort of smeared around a bit because we like ours, my family likes ours more brown. And if you don't want yours brown, you don't have to do that. I just prefer it that way, the southern way. And some people just don't like it real crispy brown. But see how brown the potatoes got? A little bit of crust on them. That's so good. And so I'm going to turn my eye off, and I'm going to put them on our plate. These smell so good. And after I added the extra oil about 5 minutes into cooking them, I cooked them another 5 minutes on medium-high heat to give them that crispy look that my family likes. So there it is. Nice and cooked with some onion in it. And that's my recipe for fried potatoes. And I hope that you like watching it as much as I like making it. Thank you for watching. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. And today I'm going to make macaroni and cheese with Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Deluxe Original Cheddar, which I think this is the best macaroni and cheese. And my kids always loved it when they were little. So, first of all, I put over here on my stove, I put 5 cups of water in my saucepan, and I brought my water to a boil. And so now I'm going to put my macaroni and cheese. I opened it already. And I'm going to take out the cheese, which is the best part, and it's already soft for those of you that have never made this kind of macaroni and cheese. And I'm going to put my macaroni and cheese into the pan. And I'm going to add just a little bit of salt because that's the way I like it. Just to give it in my, I don't like plain pasta. So I put a half a teaspoon of salt in my pasta, my macaroni. So I'm going to stir it up and I'm going to bring it to a boil, back to a boil. And it'll boil probably for 5 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, and it'll be done. And we'll come back and drain it and add our cheese. I let this macaroni cook on the boil, and it's done now, for about 7 minutes, 6-7 minutes. Make sure it's good and done. You can see it's good and tender. And so now I'm going to drain it and add the best part, the cheese. And I don't drain a lot of the water like a lot of people do. I drain about half the water. And the reason I do that is you want to leave some water in there to mix with the cheese. So I'm adding my cheese. And it comes in this little foil pack. Squeeze it. Make sure you get it all out. It's so good. And you just mix the cheese in there. And this is where leaving some of the water, I drain about half the water, a little less than half, because that water will mix with the cheese and make it creamier. See how it's already starting to get creamier as I stir my cheese up in there. And you just stir it up. Leave it sitting for a minute or two, or stir it up for about a minute or two, and see how it's melting the cheese real good. Leave it there for a minute. Looks so good and cheesy. That's a favorite for children. I know my children loved it. My 2 boys loved macaroni and cheese. They still do. With some cornbread. Alright, so it's done melted it completely, and we're going to put it in our bowl. And there you have Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Deluxe. You can see how good it looks. It's wonderful. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you for watching. Hi everybody, welcome to my video. I'm gonna cook tilapias today and I wanted to show you how I do it. So I have my butter, or I call it butter, blue bonnet butter, margarine, and I've got some melted in my pan. You can see my pan is hot, and I already have my tilapias. They're still in their bag. I just cut the tops of them off. And I'm just going to put 2 of them in this butter. And I'm going to put some Tony Chacker's original Creole seasoning, and I know I didn't say that right, but it is great on everything, just like it says, Creole seasoning. And I just sprinkle some across the top, and I don't add anything else but this because this has salt and has everything in it that you need. So I'm just going to cook one side like this for a few minutes. And I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to cook it on this side for a few minutes. I'll flip it over again until it's no longer pink. And I'm going to put some more of this seasoning on it on the other side. Move it around in the butter. And let's flip it over again. And it's going to get really nice and cooked and brown. You don't have to cook tilapia very long, just a few minutes on each side. And I'm just cooking these 2 pieces just to show you. Let me get that out. Just to show you how nice it tastes and looks. All it is just butter, some butter, margarine, and the Creole sauce. And I have it cooking on medium high. And see, look how they're starting to turn brown, starting to get cooked in the middle. And the thing that I like the most about tilapia is they don't have that fishy smell as much. You can hardly smell it, which that's good for me. You just keep flipping it a few more times and it's about done. And we're going to put it on a plate. Just listen to that cook. And I always like to cook it until it has that buttery look, where the butter has cooked on it. And it's just about there. I'm very particular with how I cook fish. Tilapias, I like to make sure that they're cooked done until they're tender. See how it's starting to fall apart when you move it around? That's the way I like to cook tilapia. Just make sure that it's cooked. And so you can see how pretty it looks. cooked in that butter. And it's starting to just fall apart. Let's cook it on this side a few more minutes, about a minute. I'm going to turn my eye down to about a 5, which is exactly medium in the middle. And it looks good, it smells good. Well, like I said, plop, but this doesn't smell like regular fish, which is what I like about it. That looks so good. And it's real tender and flaky. And I got these tilapias, in case you wonder, I got these at Walmart. Already pre-packaged in individual pieces. You just thaw them, put you some butter in the skillet, and some Creole flavoring. Let's see, now they're done. Oh yeah, when they start falling apart like that, when you turn them, that's when they're done. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to put them on a plate. Whoop. So that's the tilapia, cooked in butter and Creole spices. And I hope you liked watching this video as much as I liked making it for you. See you next time on SugarBaby. Thank you. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making Southern style potato soup. And we're going to have 2 slices of sweet onion. Make sure it's sweet because that's the best way to cook. That's what I use in everything. And we got 5 cut up potatoes. I've already cut them up. And I'd say, you know, just little bite-sized pieces. And the potatoes are about this big, russet potatoes. They're about like that. And I got 5 in there. This is just going to be a small pot. And I've got Mazola oil. And I've got half and half milk and cream. And salt and pepper, and parsley, and garlic and herb, and a half a can of chicken broth, and a stick of butter. And so first of all, we're going to turn our eye on our stove to around between 6 and 7 is what I usually do. And we're going to add just a little bit of Mazola oil to fry our onion in. We got it heated up. Just let it heat up just for a minute. And we're going to add our onion. And like I said, this is about 2 slices of sweet onion. Not thin, not thick slices, just regular size like you would put on a hamburger. And we're going to cook these for about 4 or 5 minutes. Until they have a consistency of about like caramelized, translucent, caramelized onion. And we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Okay, we got the onion sauteed and it smells wonderful. And we're gonna add a stick of butter, a whole stick of butter. We're gonna melt it. I also turned down the stove to about a 4. And I'm just gonna melt the butter, and I'm gonna add a half a teaspoon of garlic and herb while I'm cooking it. And it's salt free. I'm going to go ahead and melt this butter. It looks wonderful. Okay. And when we get the butter complete, and it's melting fast. And we're just going to let it sit for a few seconds. Once the butter completely melts, just to let it cook a little bit. Get that onion and garlic all mixed in good together with the butter. Give it that extra flavor. Okay. Sort of leave it sitting there for just a minute. Let it cook. Get all that onion and garlic and butter, get it all mixed in there together. Wouldn't be southern if you didn't have a whole stick of butter and something. Alright, it's got that good and mixed up and cooked in together. And now we're going to add our chicken broth, which, like I said, is half a can chicken broth. And we're going to add our potatoes. Let's stir that up. Mix all that in good together with the potatoes. And now we're going to add our salt and pepper. And we're going to have 2 teaspoons of salt. And you can just salt yours to taste if you like more, if you like less. And a half a teaspoon of pepper. More or less. Okay, so we're going to stir that up good together. And now we're going to add a cup of water. Let's get that all mixed in there good together. Now we're going to add a cup of just plain water. And we're going to bring that to a boil. Take about 4 or 5 minutes to bring it to a boil till the potatoes get soft. And we'll be back in a few minutes to check it out. Okay, our potatoes have been boiling about 7 minutes. And so what I usually do is, they're just soft. I just sort of take my fork and go around and mash some of them. And go all the way around, sort of, you know, break the chunks up, some of them, where it'll make it sort of more of a, see that? See how it's breaking them up? Not all of them. Okay. And this is also cooking. Right before I got back on the video, I turned it down to a 4. Alright, so see how it has part chunks and part mashed up, which is what you want for your potato soup. And you can do it however you want it if you'd rather have them more mashed up. This is the way that my family likes it. And I just sort of do it like this right here. Okay. Now that we have it partly mashed up, and it looks really good. It smells even better. Alright. We're going to add our half and half. And we're going to start out, let's add a cup. This is going to thicken it up and give it a, it's already thick, but it's going to give it a little better texture. And we're going to bring it to a boil again. Look at that. That is so pretty. That looks so good. And it's also perfect. And so now we're going to add half a teaspoon of parsley. It's going to give it some color. And if you think that your soup needs a little bit, and you can use whatever kind of potatoes you want. I just always use russet. And see how that gives it a little bit of color and also gives it a little flavor. That is beautiful. And I'm going to bring this to a boil one more time. And then I'm gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes. And we'll come back and see the final product. See what our soup looks like. Okay, our soup is finally done. I let it sit and simmer on low for about 5 minutes. And let the half and half get in there real good and thicken it up. And so now I'm gonna put it in my bowl. And you can see all the good chunks of the soup. And I'm gonna top it off with some cheese, some cheddar cheese. Now, some people, you just put whatever you want. You can eat it with bread, crackers. Don't even have to put the cheese, or you can also make a loaded potato soup out of it. And you can add sour cream on top, and then your cheese and bacon. I've seen people do that, but normally my family, we just put cheese on top of it, let it melt, and it is so good. Stir it up a little bit, and it is so good. But you can make a loaded baked potato soup out of it too. Well, I hope you liked watching my video, and I hope you liked watching it as much as I liked making it. Thank you. Hi everybody, today's video is brajol. And I don't know if you ever seen Everybody Loves Raymond, but there's an episode called Deborah Makes Something Good, and she makes brajol. And it's a really funny episode, and this is what she made. And you can put any kind of ingredients that you want into it, but I always just put onion and cheese. You can put anything, you can stuff it with anything you want. It's just stuffed beef, thin stuffed beef. So, but this is my recipe for brajol. So I start out with some Parmesan cheese and some onion and salt and pepper. And there's my Parmesan cheese and a little Crisco oil and Ragu Old World traditional sauce. And I've already made these, rolled them up, but I've got one that I'm gonna finish doing to show you how. It's really fast. So I left this one to show you. So you lay it out and you put a little onion on it like that. And you put a little cheese, and it don't matter if you get it everywhere. It don't matter because it's all gonna cook in the pot. So you roll it up pretty good, and then you take a toothpick and close it. And so I've got a 1/4 cup of oil already heating up, and I hope it's not too hot because we might be in trouble if it boils over. And I'm gonna take each piece and I'm just gonna sit it in there. Yep. Well, that's okay. I'm just gonna talk a little louder. Just turning it down just a little bit to about a 4. And I'm just gonna sit these in here in my oil. Each one. And it doesn't matter if your ingredients come out, it doesn't matter. It's all gonna cook. And the point of putting the toothpick in it is while you're cooking it, they don't come apart. They're usually really easy to stay together. Just squeeze them in. Okay, now we're gonna let these brown. Usually takes about 10 minutes for them to get real brown. And then we're gonna add our spaghetti sauce to it. And we'll be right back as soon as these brown. It's been about 15 minutes and we've been letting the steak cook. And this is what it should look like, brown on both sides. And this is the steak that I use. It's already thin, and you just put your ingredients, whatever. Like I said, if you want to put it, any stuff, mushrooms, I've seen it made different ways, but like I said, I make it with onion and cheese, Parmesan cheese. So we have it all good and cooked down. And now I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt, sprinkle a little salt around, and sprinkle a little pepper around. And now I'm gonna add the spaghetti sauce. And I'm just gonna put it all around it on it, like that. And I'm gonna just move it around just a little bit, just enough to get the spaghetti sauce under it, under the steaks. Just sort of jiggle them. Okay, that looks good. And it's already simmering. What you're gonna do, you're gonna let this simmer on low heat for an hour. And I'm just gonna put just a little more pepper on that because that's how I like it, how we like it in my family. So I'm just gonna let it sit and simmer like that for 1 hour. And we'll be back in an hour, let you see how it looks. Our Bajel has been cooking for an hour on low simmer, and it's done. So now I'm gonna get out a couple of pieces. There's our Bajel. Well, let's cut one of them. It's just so tender. And it's got onion and Parmesan in it. You see how easy it was to cut? So that's my recipe for Bajel. And I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, just like I enjoyed making it for you. Thank you for watching.